Hello, hello, and welcome to That Darn Yarn Knitting and Crochet channel. It's a little bit different format this evening because Ellie is not going to make the video. I'm her dad, and I'm going to make the video tonight and show you some of the things that she has taught me and kind of that we've learned along the way. I guess learning from each other with our machines and what we've figured out works, what doesn't work, some little tricks and hacks, and see if maybe we can give some pointers to people to kind of get them started or help them when they're getting started. We're still in the beginner's phase, beginning phase, whatever you want to call it. My daughter has crocheted for a little over a year and a half, maybe 2 years. She took up knitting 6 months to a year ago. And since then, she's also picked up the knitting machines, got me started with the knitting machine, and then together, like I said, we get these things out and we set up our little tables next to each other or facing each other so we can talk to each other while we're knitting. And we just crank them out. We crank out hats and scarves and panels to make different things, blankets, baby blankets, and these machines are very versatile. They're very efficient. I've seen a lot of negative reviews. I've seen a lot of positive reviews on Amazon and other channels, but to be honest, for the money you pay for these, because they're not very expensive. You can pick up a 48 needle machine for around 40 bucks, 50 bucks maybe tops if you get one that's got a different name brand. But what you're going to find is this in particular. Now this looks like a Centro. Amazon carries Centro, but they also carry another one called miaoke, miaoke. And let me just show you what this looks like. And it's got that instead of Centro across the front, but they are identical in dimensions, size, color, weight. I will say that the plastic on the miaokes feels a little more less flexible or brittle. That might be a good thing because it doesn't flex as much, so it may not break. I don't know, or it may not break as easy. But I do know that the Centro felt a little bit more, it gave a little bit more. The miaoke was a little bit more stout, and I like that. Like I said, it doesn't bend as much, so it's liable to snap if it gets too much pressure instead of bend, but I like the fact that it doesn't bend a lot, and it can kind of, you can brace up against it, and you'll see what I'm saying later on whenever I get into how we use these machines, what's one of the best ways to use them efficiently, as well as how to take care of them. So hold on, my neighbors have kids, I've got kids too, but they're outside playing a little bit, so let me see if I can get a little bit of music going in the background. I don't even know if that can be heard over the screaming, but oh Lord. Okay. Again, this is a 48 needle. They have a 40 needle. They have a 22 needle. I think they've got a 32 needle, 22 needle, and I think below that you're getting into like the little cord braiders that have like 4 needles and stuff. But the 48 is perfect for toboggan size or hat size. I don't have any hats made right now, but back here you can see some of the yarn. These are some of the yarns that we use. The ones on the very bottom, these on the very bottom row, we got at Michael's. It's one of their number 3 or size 3 yarns that's very flexible. It's very bouncy, like when you stretch it, it'll pull back instead of just pull apart, you know. The other ones on top of it, we got a Hobby Lobby. They are very close to the Lion brand that you can get at Walmart. That is Lion brand's Mandala line, and the Mandala Sparkle in particular is what these in the middle are similar to, these right here. And then we've got some more of the Michaels up here. Another one of the, I think that's actually a Sparkle from Walmart. That's a Sparkle Mandala from Walmart. And then this one over here is called the mandala gradient. It's simply the mandala, except it's not got the sparkle in it. It is a color gradient which changes from white to tan to pink, and I wish they had more colors to choose from there, but I get it. You know, unless you go to a specialty store, and even at Michael's and Hobby Lobby, your choices are very limited. Your best bet right now, if you want to get a big selection or be able to shop a big selection, is go online to Lion Brand or your preferred yarn, whatever brand you use. I'm not saying any particular one is better than the other, except with the fact that as long as you use a size 3, it'll go smooth. Anything above a size 3, I would not do on these machines unless you test it, take a little piece, run it through, see how it feels. If this thing is clunking real loud, and you see that as it's going over the tops of these hooks, it kind of is like snapping or popping, you definitely want to stop. If it's hard to turn this handle, you don't want to continue. Now, let me go ahead and preface what I'm going to be doing as far as making a hat here and show you how we get set up. Now, the machines will come basically put together with the exception of the legs. The legs you'll have to put in. They've got instructions. I'm not going to go through all that. We'll go through the machine and machine care later. This is for somebody who's got their machine set up, they've got their yarn, and they're ready to start making something. Now, this is the tensioner. You'll see there's 3 different size holes. There's a big one, medium, and then a real small one. That's the different tensions. The bigger one is the loose tension, medium, or the middle one is medium tension, and then the small one is tight tension. The smaller the hole, the tighter it's going to grip your yarn as it goes through. And so I always run it on the tightest one, just because if it's too loose, you'll sometimes get drop stitches. Other times you may have to have it on loose if it's a bigger yarn. But again, if you feel it pulling with this handle or something, I'll tell you this, when I took this machine apart last time, there were a lot of plastic shavings, and literally it had melted the plastic from me cranking this thing so much and so hard into like melted plastic. Literally melted it inside the machine. So there is a lot of heat and friction already, even if it's working smooth and the right way. So don't make it go the wrong way, or it will eventually wear itself down. So now you take this tensioner. You're going to want the big piece on the bottom, small piece on the top. There's a little place to put it in there, and you just pop the 2 little pegs in, one side first, then the other. You can pinch it together and it goes right in. So again, this is for somebody who already knows that. I'm just kind of once over in this stuff. Now I'm going to show you this, because this is something that my daughter and I figured out together while making hats, and learning that some of these skeins you have to wind back out into a ball or something that is easier to come off of, because if it's not able to spin real easy or able to spool right off of the skein itself, then you're going to be pulling the weight of the skein. And I'll show you what I mean in just a second. Now I take these toilet paper rolls, or actually this is a toilet paper. No, this is a paper towel roll that I cut in half. You can see because the top is a little bit jagged. I take those and then I wrap the yarn around it like this, so that not only can it come off real easy if you're pulling it from the top, but you can go to any dollar store or Family Dollar usually and find one of these, or you can just get online and eventually you can find one like this. This is a paper towel dispenser. And the yarn comes off just as smooth and freely. Or if you want to put it level with the machine, it also spools right off. I wouldn't recommend doing that though, because again, you're pulling against the weight of the skein and the yarn, itself. If the yarn can just come directly off the spool, which is how it does in these big cakes, those right there, you sit them down flat, and of course you take the yarn from the outside, and as it's drawing it up, it just goes and winds around the outside and comes off. Alright, let me show you this. Now, you're going to start with about a foot of your yarn, about a foot, 16 inches. You get the white peg right here where the little yarn feeder is. The white peg right in front of it. You're going to loop your yarn under that white peg, underneath it. And then what you do is you go under that one, crank it, then you go behind the next one, in front of the next one. Behind, in front, behind, in front, behind, in front. And you do that for one whole revolution. This is called casting on. I remember my daughter had to show me how to do this. And when I first saw it, I thought, there's no way I'm going to be doing that. It's too difficult. It looks like you got to go around each and every little one. And then I realized you're just cranking a handle and going back and forth. And it's not that bad. Now, when you get to the very last one, before the white one, you're going to be behind it because the very next one will be the white peg. And of course, it's going to grab on. And then from there, every single one will grab on as it goes and as you crank it. Don't forget, once you put it through this feeder and you have it and you pull it down here to go into the tensioner, put it in the tensioner. Don't let it just hang down. If you don't put it in the tensioner, you might get 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 revolutions, but it will drop stitches. And if you don't catch it before it drops those stitches and you keep cranking and then you've dropped however many, it's a pain to fix them. And I'll be honest, I have yet to learn how to fix a drop stitch properly. I can do it if it's only like one row maybe, because you just kind of, it's right at the top and you grab it. My daughter can go through the rows because you have to go over and under and over and under each row, but not only just over and under, but when you get to, like, whenever you've gotten one row and you go under or over the next one, then you let it go and you grab the next row through that loop. It's insane. My daughter knows how to do it. I don't know how to do it, so we're going to stop there and I digress. Alright, you've got it in the tensioner, you've got it in here, you've got it casted on. Okay, this counter, this one has a counter right here. I just reset it to 0. It does not count. So I bought one of these. Every time I click it, it goes 1. Okay, and it goes all the way up to 99. All the way up to 99, and then it resets again back to 0. Okay, so then you're at 100. I use this, and each time I do a revolution and I see that white peg come back through, I click it. It still makes a noise here in this counter, but a lot of times it won't make a noise, and so I used to rely on that. When I'd hear it, I would click this off. Now I just watch for the white peg, and you may think, well, that's a pain in the butt. Why don't you get another counter? Why don't you get another machine? Send that machine back. Yeah, it's on the priority list of things to do, but I have not gotten to it yet. But ideally, you'll have a counter that works, and we go with our hats to 120 rows. That is the generic male, female, average size, preteen or teenager head size. The ones that we make for children are 100 rows. That is your 3, 4, 5 up to 10 to 12 years old, and then anything smaller than that, like I said, we make 100 rows for the kid ones. We've not gotten and here's the thing: when you start doing less and less rows, it's still the same width, so your essentially you're shortening it, but it's staying the same width. So eventually it just looks like a, I don't know, like a one of those rabbi caps or whatever they're called. That's just like a skull cap or something. You want it to be long enough and the correct width, so it looks like an actual toboggan and not just something crazy. So the smaller ones than 100 rows, I would suggest getting a smaller machine so that it can be a smaller diameter. Alright, let's crank, and as I'm cranking, I'll hopefully try and add in a few things here, but I'm trying to stay out the video because I don't want to be in these videos with my face per se. My daughter is the one who is the star of this show, but I am trying to help her get some content on here and show a few things that not only have I learned, but that, like I said, when we work together, we figure some things out and some neat little tricks, and we've made things such as weights, and you can buy the weights at the store. I think Hobby Lobby carries them. I'm not sure about Michael's, if they carry little weights or not, but basically they're little clips. They're like a little alligator clip, sort of, or a binder clip, and you clip it on the inside of your material in here, on the inside, right there, and it pulls down on your work so that these stitches that are looped on top here, that are on these hooks, don't pop off or come off, because they can if say you crank it backwards for a quick second to do something, or you've dropped a stitch and you go back, sometimes it can pull these off of here, and you definitely don't want that. But if it's weighted down, it'll kind of help prevent that, but it also helps from stitches dropping as well, because it keeps that tension on this part, not on this part. You don't want tension on this except for the tensioner itself. You don't want it to pull below the tensioner. You don't want weight on it. You want it to flow freely, and then let the tensioner do the actual tensioning of this into the thing, because I'll tell you what happens if this is pulling. You're going to drop a stitch because there's too much pulling on this side, and it's actually pulling against this needle, and it pulls it up off of it. And like I said, it'll also wear on your machine. But we're at 11 rows. Let me try and keep going so that I can not just sit here and waste time talking. I don't know if you can hear, but every time that little white hook pops up, I click it. And here's another thing. Now, the bottom of these machines have suction cups on them. They'll stick most of the time. You can wet them. If you take a little bit of spit, put it on the bottom of them. I know it's kind of nasty, but you can take a Clorox wipe and clean it when you're done. Put a little bit of spit on the bottom of them. Push it down hard. Most time it'll stick. But we have noticed now, with these being like our third and fourth machines, the first two we ended up sending back because we wore the insides of them out so fast. We didn't know what size yarn to use. They didn't have instructions in them. They were actually in the wrong box. But anyhow, these being the third and fourth, we've kind of learned. We've taken them apart. We've learned the insides a little bit better. But the whatever they're called, suction cups, they wear out very quick. The plastic on them, I'm not sure what it is, but after you've stuck it real good on the table a few times, they kind of flatten out and they deform. They don't keep their shape. They don't go back to their original shape, and they stop sticking. Now what we do is hold the closest leg to the crankshaft, or where you're turning it. So the leg that's right there, actually I'll just show you which one it is. It's this one right here in between the tensioner and the crank handle. Hold that leg, and the machine doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't move at all. There's no problem. It doesn't slide around, anything like that, and it's not stressful on you. It's not uncomfortable. And then if you're in the situation that I'm in and you've got a counter that doesn't work, and you're holding a counter in your hand thinking, well, how am I going to crank and do the counter and hold the machine? I hold it between my pointing finger and the little meat of my hand right there with my thumb. That way every time it goes by I can click. Then I use these 3 fingers to hold the leg. So I put those 3 fingers around the leg, and then as it comes around, I already clicked it so I'm going to let it skip. As it comes around, I just click it. And yeah, that's pretty much how I run this machine, or run my machine. Now my daughter's counter works, and honestly, you can buy the replacement one that is the exact same kind as in the machine. They're a little bit flimsy. They're cheap Chinese-made stuff, so they're not precision-made machining or little inner parts. You know, little cogs and wheels with teeth on them. So the best thing to do is they sell these electronic counters, and they glue onto the top of your machine. One sits stationary on the same spot and it doesn't move on the frame of your machine, and the other one goes on the actual moving part, the little pink part that's spinning in the middle that's got the hooks on it. And every time that one on the pink part goes by the other one that's sitting stationary, it counts it and registers as a full revolution. So it goes around, and then when it comes by, another revolution, and it counts it, and it's got a digital display. They're like $20. And honestly, that's a little bit easier, smarter, whatever you want to call it. You don't have to worry about a mechanical piece breaking down again. I'm thinking that what happened with these little counters, or with this counter, because my daughter's has acted up a little bit. It's working again now, but it started to get where it would be 2 stitches off, or not stitches, rows. It'd be 2 rows off, then 5, and then we had a couple times where it was completely not hardly counting at all. It was counting about every 7 to 10 rows. It would click one off, and I think it's either the teeth as it's going through. You're either, I don't know, knocking it out of place. This one honestly is in the right place. I couldn't figure out why this one doesn't work. It's right there where the teeth are at, and it engages, but it just doesn't turn, or inside it's got to be broken. And like I said, it's cheap plastic, it's real small parts, it's cheap metal. That part is not, it's not what sells the machine. Okay, we're at 45, so we're almost halfway there. And see, these things come out quick if you just do like this and crank it fast. I do mine this fast because I've ran this machine a lot, and so it's a little bit easier to go faster than to go slow. If you've done it for a while on one machine, the plastic starts to get worn down, you get stuff built up in it, and unless you clean it, it kind of slows it down. So you've got to go fast, or else it'll keep kind of jamming, or not jamming, but it'll get stuck, and then you'll have to crank it a little bit to get it over, and it'll squeak and all that stuff. But take them apart and clean them, and it runs a lot smoother. There's a channel on YouTube, I can't remember the girl's name. She takes apart the machine, she shows you how to lube it up, the hooks, how to take each of them out, because each individual hook comes out, it's on a little piece, and you pull it out, and all 48, they go up and down on this little carousel. And that's how these little hooks pop up, and then they go back down when they're holding the yarn. Shoot. Alright now. See, there you go. That's dangerous. And then you got a stitch that looks kind of funky, like it's been yanked out. Oh yeah, another thing. If you don't want to watch for the white hook to pop through, just make sure your yarn right here is visible, because you cast on. This is literally where the white hook is at. So if you just watch the yarn that little yarn that's hanging down. Every time it comes around, it's a revolution, just like the white hook. Did you hear that squeaking? That's what it sounds like when you have made a lot of things or done a lot of revolutions with your machine. But I will say, I took this machine apart. My daughter and I took this apart a few weeks ago because we were going to see how hard it was to clean these and what happens if you put the oil and stuff like that on the inside. We got 3-in-1 silicone based oil or lubricant, whatever you want to call it. And it works real good. It comes in a yellow bottle. But we made the mistake, I made the mistake of taking, I took like a little paintbrush and I took the oil and put it on the brush. I would squirt a little bit out of the bottle, get it on the brush, and then I brushed it onto every one of these. And I thought, man, I'm going to lube these up real good. It's going to go real smooth. I don't know if it was the amount of oil. Oh, I thought that was some animal crawling up under the house. I don't know if it was the amount of lubricant and oil that was on each of these things, or if it was the way that I put this back together. It terrified me because when I put the machine back together, it would not function except going backwards. The only way it would work is if I cranked it backwards and it would go in reverse. That was it. It would not go forward. Every time I went to go forward, it would make these weird noises. And you've got to line up when if you're not competent with small hand tools and small parts and very kind of tedious or minute details when you're putting stuff together, if you're not inclined to do that, have somebody else help you or somebody else do it, or don't take it apart. Just run it until the things run into the dirt and won't go anymore, and then buy a new one. I mean, they're $50 is a lot, but when you consider your sanity, some people it may be worth it just to toss the thing and get a new one. But I took it all the way back apart. I cleaned all the oil off of every hook, with the exception of a small little amount on each one. I took a rag, and that's what the girl did in her video. She took a cloth, a little microfiber cloth, and put the oil on it and wiped it on that way. I guess I should have done that. But after I wiped it off and I put it back together, I made sure every little hook was in line. You have to make sure every little hook is in line with this one piece. This piece has got a hole for every single hook, and it's got to go perfectly in line. And these hooks have to be standing straight up. They go left, right, and in the center, so they have a little bit of move and play. That's because this part is like a little mountain that they climb, and they go up it and down, and so they've got to be able to move a little bit laterally, or vertically, I mean, so that they don't just snap off. But I had to make sure that was done exactly right, and then finally it would run. But that was real scary because, like I said, this machine, up until that point, even though I had to run it real fast just to keep it going so it wouldn't stick, it was a great machine. And then when it didn't work, I thought, oh boy, here we're about to have to shell out another $50 just to get a machine that works now. Lucky for me, it started working again. Okay, now, this yarn just popped out of the tensioner. I don't know if you heard it or not. It was like a little spring noise. It popped out, and it's not under this hook. So I was about to drop a stitch if I would have kept cranking it. And what happened is my foot got caught on this thing where it was feeding from down here. And if you put a lot of tension on that, it'll yank it out of the tensioner. And if you're not watching carefully, it will mess your day up. So here's what I do is I pull it under the hook and then crank it a little bit. I do a couple of them, and then the next hook I leave a little bit right before it gets to the yarn. And then I make sure I watch it get on that. And I watch the hook grab the yarn as I do it. And you can hear that squeaking. That's how much it's worn on the inside. But do that, and then you're back to cranking again. We're at 74. Another thing that we've learned as well, and having to count our rows and make sure that our counters work, because a lot of times my daughter will count along with her counter just to make sure that it's accurate, because we had one of the first machines that we had to return, the counter broke and we didn't realize it, and she was working on a hat and she handed it over to me and was like, I don't, like, we didn't know what was going on, and we had it rolled up on the top like this. We roll it up because if it's sitting on the bottom and it's touching the table or whatever you got it sitting on, it'll not only make you drop stitches eventually, but it's harder to crank. So you keep it rolled up at the top and it's a lot smoother. Alright, 81. Oh yeah, but when the counter broke, we didn't realize it. We were watching the counter and it was on maybe 90 or 100, and like I said, we go to 120, so we kept going until it was 120. And when we took it off of this machine, normally you're going to see when I take this one off, it'll be about that long, maybe like 2 feet, 2.5 feet long at the most, 24 inches, 26 inches, 30 inches maybe. This thing was like 3 feet long, and when we finally got it tied and put together, because we do the double-sided toboggans so that they're not only reversible, but they're actually like a real actual toboggan, not a beanie. It was like 2 feet long, double-sided. So it was pretty crazy. And we didn't think we were gonna get rid of it. We thought, well, that's a free cat. And some woman one day just was like, yeah, I'll take this one. So yeah. But you never know what people are gonna like. You can guess, but alright, where's my white peg? Because I'm trying to follow this thing. Oh, it just went through. Okay. Yep, here's the yarn. And I can't see, because it was going so fast, I couldn't see the actual thing. You can also take a little piece of a different color yarn, purple, blue, black, whatever's darkest, and lay it on top where the white peg is. And every time it goes around, you've just got a visual cue to mark when it goes around. Alright, about another 20 rows and we're going to be done with this one. Now, like I said, my daughter, it takes her not a lot longer, but she's gotten it down now to maybe about an hour, just because her arms are a lot smaller than mine. She's 10 years old, so it takes her a lot longer to crank it. But I just yanked out the tensioner again because my hand keeps getting caught. My arms, like I said, compared to a 10-year-old's arms are quite large. And so she's got to take a break every so often. But the needlework and tying the hat off and casting it off, every bit of that she had to teach me. She showed me. Okay, now the counter is at 0. That means that's 100 rows. So 20 more. Oh, that's right. When you're first going and your hat is coming off the hooks and it's starting to get longer and go down, towards the table, when it goes flat up against the table, like it's hanging down from these and it's hanging down the bottom and it just does touch the table, that's right at 75 rows. Irregardless of the yarn type, if it's a size 3, then when it gets to that table or whatever you've got your machine on and it touches it, that's right at 70 to 75 rows. Just as another visual cue to be like, oh, it's touching the table now. I got to be at 70 to 80 rows. Ten more rows. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 120 rows. Oh, 119. See, sometimes I miss them as well. All right, 120. Now, this is the fun part. Pop it out of your tensioner. Let me see if I can get this where you can actually see the machine. Okay. Pop it out of the tensioner right here. You don't want it in there anymore. Gonna take you a good pair of scissors. Now I'll tell you, the dollar store has these little scissors. I think it's the dollar store. Maybe it was Ollie's. They're the Fiskars. You want the ones that have like the satin cover on the blades or the satin finish. No, the non-stick finish. If it's just the regular metal blades. Now these are Fiskars. This is a bigger pair though. These work fine. If it's a small pair like this and it's just the stainless, it will not cut as good. You want the non-stick, which is the black blades on it. All right, so get about 1.5 feet, 18 to 20 inches of string coming out of this yarn feeder right here so that you can cast off, okay? This is where the magic happens and you see this thing turn into a hat. Now, another reason that I like being able to move the machine is when I cast off, I turn the machine around facing away from me because it's a lot easier, and I'll show you why. My daughter, she keeps it facing towards her, so you have to pull the needle towards yourself and go up under these stitches, these loops, and I do not like that because I can't see as good as she can, and my dexterity is not as good as hers, so, alright. I use one of these yarn needles that has the little bent tip, and I've shown that on another video before. I used the bent tip one, and I've showed how to cast off before, but we're just going to do this kind of quick, just so I can kind of show you from start to finish what this hat entails. Alright, so you're on the first hook here, right there. I go one, I do about 8 to 10, one by one. Because if you're trying to grab 2, 3, 4, 5 or more right off the bat with just the first several ones, it's so tight that you can end up dropping some stitches and pulling them off the hook. And if you do that, it's a mess. Like I said, I don't even know how to fix them. So if I pull them off the hook like that and I drop a stitch and I somehow can't get it to at least look decent so where I can salvage it, I have to start all over again. Alright, so after I've gotten the first 10, I go ahead and crank to where I get about 8 to 10 hooks past the little feeder there. And then you can pick up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Now you can get 7, 8, 9, 10 of them in a row like that because you've got the slack in your yarn there behind the needle. But be very careful when you grab a stitch. If you just pull straight up on it and it's not got the hook over the top of it holding it down, the next one, like if you're pulling one up and the very next one doesn't have the hook over the top of it holding it down, and you pull up like that real hard, it'll pull the next stitch up and it will drop that stitch and you will have a mess on your hands. And it is not easily fixed. Some people maybe, but not myself. And again, you can kind of hear when I crank that slowly, the squeaking and stuff. Like when I cast it like that right there, yeah, that's from wear on this thing. Like I said, when it's going, it's smooth because it's I guess got inertia and momentum or whatever, and so yeah. But you're going slow, you've got to kind of give it the old heave-o. Alright, last few stitches here. Alright, now get the machine kind of out of the way. You let it hang down all the way like that. And the reason I use these curved needles, or the bent needle, so I can take it and stick it in there, and you can kind of work it around. And instead of it being straight and you have to move it and bend, or like bend the toboggan every single time and all this other stuff, but this one you can just take and kind of pull it around and it'll go right through. Okay, go through a couple times to seal that first layer. I'm not going to show you my knots because I made up my own little knot here to tie this off. So, but I take it, tie it off like that. Then you take it, turn it inside out, pull it up like that on itself. Then with the outside yarn, I leave about 16 inches. So now you're going to have two. The middle one is going to be the inside. That's what you hold on to so you can work with the outside. Take the outside, put your needle on your yarn. Okay. Okay. All right, now on this outside, it's kind of hard to see. You can see where the needle goes through right there. Let me wipe this screen off a little bit, or this camera, see if that helps. Okay, well, you see where the needle goes through right there? Those little stitches that it's going through. If you take it and pull it through that one, the very rim of where you draw it, you know, like a drawstring, when you pull it tight, if you'll go through every one of those loops, let me show you what it does. You go through the loops, Alright, when you've done that, then you take both of your strings at the same time. I pull the outside one tight first to where it will envelop and go around the inside. Then I take them both right beside each other, pull it tight, then hold them together like one string. I'm not going to show you this knot either because you'll have to figure that one out on your own. And these are kind of proprietary. I use a certain knot for each tie that me and my daughter kind of came up with. Now you've got that, and see it's real tight, real nice and neat. I cut it off real close, and then take it, Put your your thumbs on the inside like that and work it around in a circle. Stick your hand up in the hat, grab the inside. See how beautiful that is? Look at that. Pinch the inside, turn it inside out because that was the outside of the hat. Now you've got your reversible hat, and let me show you what the top looks like. See how nice and neat and tight that is? Perfect little circle. And then you've got your hat. Reversible. Of course, it's the same. This is the same color on inside and out, but some of the other yarns, if it's got like gradient, you'll have certain colors on the outside, and then because it's double-sided, you'll have different colors on the inside. So you basically got two hats in one. Well, that's all for tonight, folks. I hope you enjoyed this. Like I said, this has been some little tricks and hacks that my daughter and I have figured out. Some of the stuff she's taught me and that I've learned along the way. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of this. Leave a comment, subscribe. We also have a Facebook called That Darn Yarn. Look for Ellie on there. She's my daughter. She's the one who thought up all of this. She wanted to start her own business and do her own channel and things of that nature, so I'm helping her out. And yeah, we'll see where this goes. But she's 10 years old, and like I said, she's very enthusiastic about this stuff. She's very intelligent, beautiful young girl. I'm so proud that she's my daughter because watching how she has not only inspired other people with her entrepreneurship and like her work ethic, but teaching other people. She's taught other people different things, and like with some of her videos, and we talked to a few ladies where we just moved from that had asked her a question about how she did this or that with the machine, and they were getting just started, or they had just bought one and were like, I don't know how to do this or that, and she was like, oh, use a different size yarn, use it. And it's amazing how just something small like that can make a huge difference, because like I said, I never knew you had to have a certain size. When we first got these, or the very first one that we got, I took a size 4 and tried to yank it in there, and of course I didn't even know how to really cast it on, and my daughter casted it on for me, and when I started to do like that, she's like, no, you got to stop. And I was sitting there cranking that thing, and that's why we had to return the first one. So anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you'll have a good night. We love you and hope to see you soon. Bye.